Okay, I'm reloaded!
All right, man. What's good? We back with another one. It's your boy 2K here. Shouts to my man Bo, who came back to talk about this card. And then, of course, my man J.L. Davis is back in the building. What's up, fellas?
What's up with
going
it?
on?
All right, man. We got the Isaac Cruz versus Lamont Roach card. And if you guys saw the description on the thumbnail for this video, man, it says Lamont Roach might lose to Isaac, not Isaac. It's
I was
Isaac.
just gonna say you saying that man's name wrong.
Yeah, Isaac Cruz, bro. And we'll unpack that shit later. But we're gonna go through the whole card, man. I want to start off with that Frank Martin versus Rancis Barthélemy fight. Now, of course, you know, for you guys that are not in the know, a lot of you boxing fans are not real boxing fans. But at one point in time, Rancis Barthélemy was a top tier contender, right? At one point in time, down there at around, 130, 135, even that 140-ish. He was one of them top contenders, had that big fight with Robert Easter Jr. that ended up in a draw back in 2019. I think he had that, I want to say he was champion and he lost that belt to Kirill Relic, or either Carol Relic was the champion and he lost to him. And I think it was Relic was the WBA champion at 140 pounds back in 2016, and they ended up losing to him. But that was the official first loss that Rancis Barthélemy had, and had people kind of looking at him sideways. And it was actually a rematch. So he did have the WBA title for that in the first encounter of that fight. But it had people looking at him sideways once he lost the rematch and then had the draw with Robert Easter, and he kind of fell, by the wayside after that. But he's been in the mix. He had that fight with Gary Antoine Russell. He got knocked out in it, but the referee stopped the fight prematurely. It was a fight that Rancis actually looked good in. You know what I'm saying? So that was, even though he got knocked out, he did look good in that fight. He looked better than he did in other fights. And then, of course, he lost, he had a win after that against Omar Juarez, and then lost to Jose Ramirez, while both of them were at a crossroads fight, if you want to call it that. Of course, Frank Martin now, he's coming off a devastating knockout loss to, of course, Tank Davis. Now, this is supposed to be a get-back fight for Frank Martin. It's a get-back fight on a guy that's on the downside, because I think Rancis Barthélemy's like, what? How old is he, Bo? He's like 40 or something like that, but in Cuban years.
Real age or what? His real age or his Cuban?
Yeah. He's like 40, but in Cuban years he's like 60. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even though he's 33-1, it looks good on paper, but Rancis is a shell of his former self than what he was down there at 140 and 130, 135 back in the day. So what do you guys think about this, man? Do you think this is a good opponent for Frank Martin and his comeback fight? Jay, I'm gonna go to you first, man.
I think so, bro. I think it's it's not too much of a dangerous fight. He does have a name, does have a good record on paper. I just and it shouldn't be a tough fight for Frank Martin, not unless Frank Martin is just completely he just got his ass just ransacked mentally from that loss to Tank Davis. But he should be able to. I don't think he's going to knock him out, but I think he should easily outpoint him. Probably, I would say 7 rounds to 5, 8 rounds to 4, something like that.
Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of Frank Martin. I think that he's got a lot of problems defensively, right? He becomes way too caught up in his offense that he forgets that he's supposed to be defensive as well as a fighter, right? You're not supposed to run into shots. Very skilled fighter, very athletic, but he has defensive issues. But what do you think about this, man?
Man, listen, man. It should be an easy fight for Frank Martin, right? My only issue with when you look at Frank Martin is a guy who after he had that one big win against it was Mr. Rivera, everybody kind of shot this nigga to the moon.
Yeah.
You know, he
Mhm.
goes in there against Tank, and you saw all these deficiencies. Now, if Rancis Bartholomew can just be somewhat, you know, of what he used to be, he can give Frank Martin a little. He can give Frank Martin some problems. Frank Martin should definitely win this fight. Like I ain't gonna spend too long on Bartholomew is the classic case of a guy who started out being a boxer, and people started talking about that Cuban style being boring, and he tried to change his style over there with Ismail Salas and them. You know, he's of course we all know he's better than his brother. We all know that, right?
Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah, you know, but he's far removed from the days when he was in there with, you know, when he won the lightweight belt from Dennis, you know, Shavakov, and like you said, Mickey Bay and all those guys. He's far removed from that, but he should be serviceable enough to be like a confidence booster for Frank Martin if he winds up getting the victory.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think this is a good matchup for Frank to come back after getting brutally just knocked the fuck out by Tank. In a fight that people were hyping him up in. You know, his promoter, Errol Spence, was hyping him up in. A lot of boxing fans thought that Frank Martin was going to be a good matchup for Tank. Now, boxing enthusiasts knew otherwise, obviously, right? But, you know, all the hype and stuff that he had leading up to that fight, and you make a good point, him fighting Mitchell Rivera and beating Mitchell Rivera and giving him his first loss, who dubbed himself the next Muhammad Ali, if you will, even had the look of Muhammad Ali, I think, in that particular fight, actually, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he you know, after that happened, I mean, his stock rose tremendously to a point where it probably should have never risen. He needed more time to get more acclimated into the boxing game as a prospect, get a little more good fighters under his belt, so that'll boost his confidence, and he could take on someone like a Tank Davis. But Tank does what he always do. He preys on the weak, and that's what happened. Frank Martin fell right into that trap. I think this is one of those fights that he probably should have had before fighting Tank, honestly. Rancis Bartholomew should have been before this fight. It would have been one of those confidence boosters. I think Bartholomew still has just enough in the tank and has the boxing ability, being taller and having a longer reach than Frank Martin, to give him trouble, as Bo mentioned. I mean, if he stays on the outside, decides to box, we all know that Rancis Bartholomew has mental issues. He likes to fight when he doesn't need to, instead of actually using his height and reach advantage to stand on the outside and boxing opponents. He has very much trouble doing that. But let's just say, you know, the fucking moon is blue and he's able to stay on the outside. He can give Frank Martin all kinds of trouble. You turn Frank Martin into a one-dimensional fighter if he wants to, right? I just don't see that happening, especially with the fact that Bartholomew is 97 years old in Cuban years. So I got Frank Martin. I don't think he stops Rancis Bartholomew. He could. It could be another situation where Gary Antoine Russell, like that Gary Antoine Russell fight where Bartholomew takes a couple shots and the referee just decides to jump in and stop the fight. Could be a situation like that to make Frank Martin look better. This is a PBC event, you know, and we all know that in PBC events, you start seeing stupid shit like that happen pretty frequently. So if he takes the right barrage of shots, maybe in a corner or up against a Roach or something like that, I would not be surprised if a referee jumps in and stops his fight. But I'm going to go with Frank Martin, easy, wide, unanimous decision, man. All right, let's go ahead and jump to Jesus Ramos and Sugar Shane Mosley's defunct son. This motherfucker's a man. If I'm Shane Mosley, I'm looking at my son like, damn, bro. How did this nigga get so weak? How did he get so whack, bro? Jesus Ramos versus Shane Mosley, man. Now, of course, Jesus Ramos has been doing his thing at 154 pounds for quite some time now. I think he's been a pro, we're talking 6-7 years now. Pretty much fought exclusively at 154. Had some fights at 140 and 147 early in his career, but he made his mark at 154. Some of his biggest wins are Jason Rosario, who was the former unified champion at one point. You got Erickson Lubin. You got Joey Spencer, right? Joey Spencer was a prospect that some people thought was going to be a somebody until Jesus Ramos derailed that train. I never thought Joey Spencer was going to be a thing. You know what I'm saying? Joey Spencer kind of, yeah, he was a guy that PBC was pushing on everybody. They were saying, hey, you know, we got this guy. He's really good. You should watch him. But if you watched him, you understand boxing. You realize very quickly that when Joey Spencer stepped up in competition, he was going to get fucked up. And that's what happened when he stepped up against Jesus Ramos. But yeah, Jason Rosario win. I guess Banana's a good win, I guess, with the name on his resume. And then, of course, Erickson Lubin, in my opinion, is probably his best win. This fight is going to be sanctioned at 160 pounds, though. So he's moving up in weight. I think his last 3 fights were at 160. So he's moved up in weight. It's going to be his 3rd one there. And then you got Sugar Shane Mosley. I can't say his name without laughing, bro. Sugar Shane Mosley, former contender contestant. Who did he lose the dude? Oh man, I can't think of his name.
Jason Quigley.
Who?
Jason Quigley. Is that what you think about? Jason Quigley.
Yeah. Jason Quigley, bro. Lost to Jason Quigley. But who did it was Brandon Adams he lost to in a contender. That's what I was trying to look for.
Oh,
he lost, yeah, when he was a contender contestant, he lost to Brandon Adams, who's not a good fighter. Then, you know, later on, as Bo mentioned, loses to Jason Quigley. But he had a loss before that to David Toussaint and then some bum named Mark Christopher Atkins. Never heard of him. So before we get to this point of his career, Shane Mosley Jr. has had some ups and downs in his career. Not a very good fighter. Nothing like Shane Mosley Sr. But it's a big event for him. It's something that it's a win that he really needs to, I guess, basically uphold the name that his father has bestowed upon him. What do you guys think about this shit? I'm gonna go to you, Bo. What do you think about this fight, man?
Man, I think Shane should reevaluate that junior status. That's what.
Hell yeah.
Hold on, nigga. If you're gonna be a junior, you need to be like a carpenter or some shit, nigga. You shouldn't be out here fighting. Mosley is a dude who, again, kind of like how I mentioned about Martin. Mosley got mad props for beating Daniel Jacobs. Well, Daniel Jacobs was done by this time, right? But he beat Daniel Jacobs, and you know he's another dude that everybody was like, "Oh man, he's showing signs of him being like his dad and all that." This should be an easy fight for Jesus Ramos. Jesus Ramos, to me, I really feel is the better fighter. He has the better ring IQ. He's the better boxer. The only issue that I have with Jesus Ramos, and one thing I will give him, at least ain't nobody knocked him out yet, right? So I get at least he heard his daddy's ability to take up a shot. The nigga ain't been knocked out yet, right?
Yeah.
But he overall, man. This again, like you said, is a PBC card, and I believe this is for like some type of interim title. The winner of this is going to fight Carlos Adamas, and I think this is a fight where it's like, hey, this is Jesus Ramos' time to shine, and if he looks good, we'll throw him in a title fight. So I got Jesus Ramos, man, by domination.
All right, what do you think about this, Jay?
Man, I ain't even gonna really watch this fight. I that's how much I just.
That nigga did not sugarcoat that shit. I'm not watching this shit.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can't watch Sweet Mosley, bro. I can't, bro. Like, yeah. I'm just gonna say this. I'm hoping Ramos stops him. But I think I'm in agreement with Bo. I think that Jesus Ramos is just. I think the ring IQ. I think the skill set is just gonna be too much for Sweet and Low. So.
Sweet and Low.
Yeah, cause he ain't sugar, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think Ramos is just gonna it's gonna be a wash. I think it's gonna be more so. I'll be surprised if Mosley wins 4 rounds in this fight. I'll be completely surprised.
Let me correct you, L Dub. Winner might duck to fight Laura next. This is for the WBC interim title, right? They should be going after Carlos Adamas. But if it's Laura next, yeah, there might be a duck there because Adamas is going to – listen, I like Jesus Ramos, but Carlos Adamas is a problem for him, 100%. And then Shane Mosley Jr. I mean, that's probably a second round knockout if he gets lucky and gets past Jesus Ramos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is what it is there. Yeah, I'm in agreement with both you guys. I mean, this should be another easy victory for Jesus Ramos. I think the only trouble that Shane Mosley Jr. could possibly give him is, I guess, his hand speed. Like I said, it's nothing like his dad's, but he does have some pretty good hand speed. He puts together some pretty good combinations from mid-range to the outside distance. Has pretty good, a pretty decent jab. Sets up a straight right hand pretty well, but nothing to go home and talk to people about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just mentioning it here because I got to say something good about the guy. In all reality, this is a mismatch, right? Jesus Ramos being a southpaw, and Elda made a good point here. It's really gonna mess up Shane Mosley Jr.'s timing, right? He doesn't time southpaws very well. This has been something that's been plaguing him throughout his career, even when he was before he became a pro. He had mentioned that he had trouble with southpaws, learning the game. So at the end of the day, I don't expect this fight to go 12. If it does, great for Shane Mosley Jr. He has proven me wrong, and he's probably proven himself wrong. I'm saying if this goes 12 rounds, but I got Jesus Ramos knocking him out. I think the pressure, the body work that Jesus Ramos has, I think that's going to be too much for Shane Mosley. He's going to tire him out quickly. I think Mosley is going to try to use the ring to box, but it's not going to be enough. Body work's going to get to him probably around, I say, round 6. I think Jesus Ramos knocks him out. All right, man. yeah. Let's go to the next one. And to me, I think this is the fight of the card. I think this is going to be the biggest fight of the card. You got Stephen Fulton versus O'Shaquie Foster, right? So, of course, O'Shaquie Foster, man, he reminds me of kind of like a Tevin Farmer. And I'm not talking about how they fight, right? I think, O'Shaquie Foster employs like a shoulder roll. He's more flat-footed, right? Tevin Farmer is more of a boxer. He does have a shoulder roll, but he doesn't employ it 100% of the time like O'Shaquie Foster tries to as one of his defensive techniques. But they remind me of each other because of how they had early career moments where they didn't look like they would ever become a champion, right? Both of them lost to guys early on and looked like they would be fringe contenders as their career, continued, possibly gatekeepers. But they ended up being better fighters as their career progressed, right? O'Shaquie Foster has in my opinion, has a better resume on his come up to winning the WBC title initially when he beat Ray Vargas. That win alone, in my opinion, is better than any win that Tevin Farmer has on his resume, right? But you also got Alberto Machado. You got a couple of guys on there that he defeated in his rise up to becoming a WBC champion. Of course, he fought Robson Fonseca twice. The first one, a lot of people thought was a robbery. He lost his WBC title, then gained it back in his last fight against Fonseca. So now, he doesn't have the title anymore. This title against Fulton is for the interim title. So we'll see what O'Shaquie Foster can do there. Then, of course, you got Stephen Fulton. He's a 2-time division champion at 122 and 126 before getting Wally mopped by Naoya Inoue, and then getting his get back on before he got his get back, he almost lost to Carlos Castro, then got his get back on Brandon, or at least won a second fight anyway on Brandon Figueroa in the rematch, then moves up to 130 to take on O'Shaquie Foster. So he's actually seeking a 3-division title. What do you guys think about this, man? Jay, I'm gonna go to you, man.
Man, this is the fight. This is the most inconsistent two niggas that I know. Like, they have their great moments. You think like, okay, they're gonna do something. Then you have their down moments where they just look like complete shit. So honestly, and then Fulton coming in overweight and shit. So that's just even more like concerning, in my opinion. I don't know how his legs are going to be for the majority of the fight, but I think Fulton can he's going to outpoint Foster. I think it's going to be a really close fight. There's going to be a lot of mental lapses in this fight. But I think overall, I think Fulton has the IQ to adjust his faults. And I think he'll probably win this by, I'll say, about 2 rounds.
Oh, you're saying he'll win it by 2 rounds?
Yeah, he'll win it by. It's going 12.
Got you.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying he was gonna win it by round 2. Like,
Hell no! Like, what?
Hold up, there,
right. This nigga's like 1 or 2 knockouts above Paulie Maliali. Hold on, wait.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, Bo, what'd you think, man? What do you think about this fight?
I actually like this fight. The thing about the one thing about this fight, because you said mental lapses. Well, it's gonna be mental lapse on both these niggas, right? Both of them gonna have mental lapse. Right? It's gonna be mental lapse. Both. This is gonna be a matter of who can take advantage of the other mental lapse better. Now that's where I agree with you. Fulton coming into play. Now, if Shockey Foster can be that guy that we saw going there against Ray Vargas and do his thing, if he could be that guy that went in there and did what he did to Abraham Nova, which was the shock fight that he won, nobody thought he was gonna win that fight. He can go in there and do that. Oh man, he can give Fulton some problems early, and that's the thing about Fulton is, and Brandon Figueroa had it best. You got to jump on Fulton and jump on him early, right? The problem is, like you said, the inconsistency, and that's guys with mental lapses. I just hate trying to pick them, and it's tough to pick them because of the mental lapses. But overall boxing ability and the ability to adjust. One thing I'll give Fulton, I think his ability to adjust in real time is just a slight bit better. So I got him winning, and I'm with you. He made close decision. I think 115, 113, or split decision. I can even see a split decision, but I got Stephen Fulton winning this fight.
Yeah, you know what it is, man. Let him down, Philly. You know what I'm saying? That's where Stephen Fulton is from, dog. And y'all already know how I feel about let him down, Philly. But it doesn't mean that I'm picking Foster. It's just an aspect in this fight. For you new people on this show, let them down Philly essentially means that Philadelphia fighters typically let us down, right? They look good in fight 1 and then look like total dog shit in fight 2. Stephen Fulton has put himself on the list of let them down Philly fighters that are inconsistent whenever he look good against Brandon Figueroa. I got some feedback from somebody. Somebody got some feedback. When he looked good against Brandon Figueroa, and then, went in there, looked bad against Noya Inoue, comes out, looks bad against Carlos Castro, then looks good against Brandon Figueroa, looks even better against Brandon Figueroa than he did in the first fight, right? So you have a kind of a seesaw kind of thing with Stephen Fulton. But O'Shaquie Foster's the same thing. He's from Texas, can't give him the let him down Philly title. But at the end of the day, he's got the same situation, right? You see O'Shaquie Foster fighting guys like Ray Vargas and Abraham Nova. You would think that he's going to struggle against these guys. Or let me say Ray Vargas, you would think that he would lose to Ray Vargas, right? Or it'd be a struggle, beats him pretty easily. But Abraham Nova, who's more so on his level, you would think he would beat him easily, ends up struggling, right? Robson Conseical, I thought he was going to get washed in that first fight. Looked really good in the first fight to the point he probably should have won. And then in the second fight, I thought Robson Conseical edged the second fight out. So it's like, at the end of the day, another a fighter that is doing a seesaw type of thing. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, bro, I agree with both of you fellas when you say this is going to be a mental issue on both sides, which ends up becoming a good fight, right? Because in my opinion, O'Shaquie Foster has the ability to box from the outside, but that may not be the right thing to do against Stephen Fulton because he doesn't have the hand speed, right? Nor does he really have the ring IQ to do so. O'Shaquie Foster is better in this fight, staying at mid-range, trying to counter Stephen Fulton and actually applying pressure and going to his body. O'Shaquie Foster has excellent ability to fight has an excellent ability to work the body. That's what I want him to do against Fulton. Keep him from moving around the ring. Apply pressure. Take a page out of Noya Inoue's book. Hell, take a page out of Carlos Castro's book, right? Don't do what Brandon Figueroa did. What Brandon Figueroa did, which fucked him up, was in round 2, he switched to southpaw. And switching to southpaw, he became 100% vulnerable to the straight right hand. He was getting popped the entire fucking the entire fight with the straight right hand down the middle. Then, with him getting caught coming in the southpaw stance, his brain is wired to apply pressure, but he wasn't throwing punches because he was afraid to get countered. So now you got a guy applying ineffective aggression. That was Brandon Figueroa. Ashaki Foster can't do this. Foster is listed as an orthodox fighter, but he's actually southpaw, or he actually fights southpaw sometimes. He switches. Fulton switches as well. Foster can stand in the southpaw position for an extended period of time, given how long the fight lasts, right? I don't want him doing that. I want Foster at orthodox and applying pressure, because that takes a page out of Carlos Castro and Noya Inoue's book, where he's applying pressure as an orthodox fighter, and he's going to the body. He's making Fulton fight off the back foot. Guess what? Stephen Fulton can't fight off the back foot, guys. Fulton's ability to counter, his ability to read you, has to be when he's comfortable in there. If you're allowing him to establish a stance where he can establish a distance from you and get comfortable, that's where he looks like an unbeatable fighter. But if you look at the Noya Inoue fight, and he's coming forward, right? And he's not allowing him to get comfortable in his stance. He's not allowing him to establish distance, right? He's not allowing him to be first. Well, then now you got a guy that's always on the retreat. And that's what was happening against Noya Inoue. If you watch the first Brandon Figueroa fight, he was doing that in that fight as well. That's how that fight ended up a close decision for him, because he was retreating at times when Figueroa was applying relentless pressure. So I need Shock to come in here, balls to the walls, applying nothing but pressure to Fulton. If he does that, and maintains a sustainable body attack on Stephen Fulton, which is going to keep him from using the ring later on in the fight, he could beat him if he does that. On Fulton's side, it's the exact opposite, right? I need Fulton to not sit in the pocket with Ashaki Foster. Shock doesn't have, major power, but he has respectable power, right? He can hurt you. He can make you reset. He can make you retreat if you get hit by the wrong shit. The thing is with Foster is he employs this shoulder roll, but he has no real defense. You know what I'm saying? Like, he may catch some shots, but he's not really a good defender. His head is on the center line. He doesn't know how to defend his body very well. So if Fulton does that jab to the body that he likes to do, he'll probably land that 100% of the time. Jab to the body from the outside, set up combinations from that. Jab to the body, produce an angle, get off a combination, get back on the outside. That's an easy game plan for Stephen Fulton on this guy, right? Be first with your jab. Ashaki Foster may catch some of those jabs. He's not going to catch them all. Hell, you can even play with the jab, paw with it. Act like you're going to use it for something set up straight right hand. Ashaki Foster is not defensively sound to the point where he could stop something like that coming straight down the pipe if he's too busy worried about the jab. You see what I'm saying? So this is an easy game plan for Stephen Fulton. I'm just worried about the let him down Philly moniker. Is he going to get on the inside? Is he going to try to stay within range of Foster because he has a point to prove, right? Remember, he had a point to prove against Brandon Figueroa. Instead of sitting down in between rounds, he stood up. So he's got that kind of mentality. Like, I got a point to prove to these motherfuckers. He had a point to prove against Noya Inoue. People were telling him he's not going to last in the fight. He's not going to last in the fight, right? So early on, he tried to stay within range of Noya Inoue. Then he felt that power, realized that Noya Inoue's speed was too much for him, and his IQ was too much for him. Then he was like, fuck, what do I do? Stayed in retreat till he got knocked the fuck out, right? So the good thing about this is Bozy Ennis is his trainer. And ever since he's incorporated Bozy Ennis, I think it was the last Robson Conceicao fight. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong if he came in before that. But in the last, the last Brandon Figueroa fight, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was when Bozy Ennis came in. He looked different against Brandon Figueroa the second time than he did the first time, because he was actually using his boxing ability from the outside. He was not allowing the pressure to get to him. He was stepping back. He was countering. He was being first with the jab. He was jabbing to the body. He was setting up the straight right hand perfectly when Figueroa was in the southpaw stance. All those things were happening for him because Bozy Ennis was telling him what to do, right? So with Bozy coming into this fight, I think that he's unlocked what Stephen Fulton and how Stephen Fulton should be fighting. And he's also given him more confidence as a fighter. He looked really good against Brandon Figueroa in the rematch, to the point where I don't think the Noya Inoue knockout fucked him up mentally. So coming into this fight, I don't expect that to be a problem. I got Fulton by wide decision, guys. I don't think all he's got to do is listen to Bozy, bro, and fight the same way he fought Brandon Figueroa. Foster is not going to be incorporating anything that much better than a Brandon Figueroa. The only caveat to this fight that has me wondering, besides his let him down Philly moniker, is the weight, right? He's moving up to 130. Now, he's always maintained that he could fight at 130, right? He's always maintained that. To me, if you watch the Noya Inoue fight and the Brandon Figueroa rematch and compare Fulton's body, he looks better at higher weights. He looked drained to me at 122. He looked much fuller at 126. At 130, he actually missed weight by 2 pounds, right? So he may even be even more comfortable because he's missing weight. But that's also something that could be a detriment to Stephen Fulton as well. How serious is he about this matchup? Why is he missing weight? Could be a let him down Philly moment, guys. I'm going to go with Fulton by wide decision. Maybe not that wide. 116, 112, 8 rounds to 4. But it's such a situation where, there's gray area here because of the inconsistency. It can end up being Foster 8 to 4. But I'm going to stick with Fulton, man. All right, guys, we're going to go to the main event. We're going to go to the main event. Isaac Pitbull Cruz versus Lamont Cockroach. Now, listen here, guys. Oh, man. Lamont Roach may be the most overrated fighter at this moment in time in boxing. I'm not saying for the year. I'm not saying for this era. I'm not saying for this decade. I'm not saying for this millennium. I'm saying this moment in time as of today, and maybe back when he fought Tank Davis, right? So how many months is that? 7, 8, 9, 10 months, right? Because I think that fight was in March or so, right? So we're talking about 8 months. Lamont Roach is the most overrated fighter within the last 8 months. Put it that way. The reason why I say that is Tank Davis himself is probably one of the most overrated fighters of this era, right? A lot of niggas gonna get mad about that, but it is what it is. I could do a whole separate video talking about that. I have done separate videos on the channel talking about that. Y'all can go watch them. I could break that down all the way down to the nitty gritty about how Tank Davis is an overrated fighter. Lamont Roach showed you. He showed you guys why Tank Davis is an overrated fighter, right?
Yep.
Because Lamont Roach himself is not that good of a fighter. Think about what he was going through before he fought Tank Davis. He was going life and death with Hector Garcia. Ew. You know what I'm saying? He lost to Jamel Herring. He had a draw. Bo likes to. Bo, I'm gonna let you do it. Who do you have a draw with, Bo?
He had a draw with the underwear colored gay wearing Orlando Cruz.
Who showed up to the weigh-in with rainbow draws. Now, I can't speak for all men, but I can speak for myself. And I feel like I can speak for the 2 men on this panel.
Yes, you can.
Yep.
I already know where I'm going with this shit. If I have an opponent in front of me and he's wearing rainbow draws and he's come out as homosexual, that is motivation, bro. I'm not losing to that guy. If you have a draw with that guy, you lost. That's a loss, bro. You lost, my nigga. It says draw officially, but your record should be 25-2. You know what I'm saying? So realistically, Lamont Roach's first loss was against Orlando Cruz, dog. Real shit. Then he lost to Jamel Herring. But these are the guys that Lamont Roach is struggling with, right? And then if you look at his wins, he ain't beat nobody of note. And then goes in there and gives Tank Davis all he could handle. In my opinion, he beat Tank Davis because it should have been called a knockdown in that 9th round. You can't put your glove on the canvas and say, oh, shit, I got hair grease in my motherfucking eye, dog. And be like, okay, well, you know, fight. Everybody had hair grease in his eye. He's good now. Let him fight. Steve Willis dropped the ball on that. It's his discretion, right? But 99.9% of referees call that a knockdown because the glove touched the canvas, and there was a punch right before that. 99.9% of referees call that a knockdown. So Steve Willis dropped the ball on that. Had he got that knockdown, he gets the nod. He beats Tank Davis. So he beat Tank Davis in my book. So that tells you how overrated Tank really is, guys. Now, instead, that rose Lamont Roach's stock. Now, I'm not saying it shouldn't, because people like me were expecting Lamont Roach to lose that fight, right? So it should have risen his stock. I have no problem with that. But it rose it to a degree that was insufferable. You got niggas really out here saying Lamont Roach beat Shakur Stevenson?
Oh my
I got a little bit of feedback on somebody's. But they're saying he beats Shakur Stevenson. And I'm looking at these comments, and this is on the Three Kings Boxing Facebook page, and these guys are serious. Some people in there saying, hey, if you don't have Lamont Roach beating Shakur Stevenson, you don't know boxing. Are you fucking kidding me? But it's because of what Tank Davis allowed when they fought. Now he's this excellent A+ elite fighter. Lamont Roach is. That's how he's the most overrated fighter in the last 8 months. Now, you get to Pitbull Cruz, who ironically is another guy that Tank Davis put on the map, right? Isaac Cruz was a late replacement. Who the fuck was he a late replacement for? I can't remember. Who was
remember?
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Tank was supposed to fight somebody. Isaac Cruz was a late replacement, right? And being that late replacement,
Romero.
Rolly
Remember,
Romero.
Romero had those cases. Yeah, those cases was on him.
Thank you. Yep, Rolly Romero. Late replacement for Rolly Romero, right? And in being that late replacement, nobody knew who he was. The only thing that he did before that was he beat some, gatekeeper guys, Thomas Matisse, Jose Felix and Diego Magdaleno. He beat Francisco Vargas, who, at that time wasn't what he used to be, right? Francisco Vargas is never really that great of a fighter anyway, in my opinion, right? He's doing his thing, climbing the rankings, but he's not really a known fighter. Gets the Tank Davis fight. Nobody really expected him to give Tank Davis all he could handle, but that's exactly what he did. Unless you were a real fan of Isaac Cruz, you really knew who he was. But that's what he did. And in being able to give Tank Davis all he could handle, and Tank Davis winning by unanimous decision, but the scorecards being a close unanimous decision, right? In the event of that taking place, Isaac Cruz is now this big-time, top-level fighter. You see that? You see the pattern there, guys? So now Isaac Cruz is this top-level fighter, and he's one of the best fighters at 135 and all this other shit, right? When he beat Rolly Romero, that made it even worse. So when he beat Rolly, that made it worse. He knocked out Rolly. That made it worse. But then Rayo brought it back down to where acceptable levels. Rayo was like, listen, I'm not even a top level fighter, but I'm about to beat this nigga up.
Yep.
Pretty much what happened there, right? So essentially in this fight, you've got two guys that were highly overhyped, overrated because of what Tank Davis allowed them to do against him. And that's why they're the main event today. Today, which is ridiculous, right? But I digress. The reason that this, to me, is a dangerous fight for Lamont Roach is because of what I said about him being overrated. Lamont Roach has never looked good against guys that applied relentless pressure. He's never looked good against those guys, right? Tank Davis wasn't that guy. He's always looked shaky against guys that applied relentless pressure. He may have won those fights, but if you go back and look at them, right, he looked shaky. Isaac Cruz is not a guy that I believe Lamont Roach can outbox from mid-range distance. Roach isn't an outside fighter, guys. He fights at mid-range. Isaac Cruz is not a guy that I believe Roach can get away with outboxing at mid-range distance because he doesn't have the power. You see what I'm saying? With Isaac Cruz, you got to have the power if you're going to be at mid-range distance like Tank Davis had, right? Like Rayo had, right? I think Isaac Cruz will walk through any type of offensive attack that Lamont Roach tries to incorporate. The only one that I think he would need to beat Isaac Cruz, and let's say beat him soundly, would be to box from the outside, but that's not his style. You don't see Lamont Roach using the ring. You don't see Lamont Roach incorporating an effective jab to set up combinations from the outside, rinse and repeat, providing angles, using a semi-wide stance to shoot forward and shoot back. You don't see that from Lamont Cockroach. You know what I'm saying? But those are the types of things that would beat Isaac Cruz soundly, right? Even Rayo had trouble with him. And Rayo and Lamont Roach have a similar style in terms of where they like to produce an offensive attack, which is mid-range. See what I'm saying? Guys, this is a dangerous fight. I kind of went into my shit, but I'm a back out of it. Bo, I'm gonna go to you, man. What do you agree with me that this is a dangerous fight for Lamont Roach?
I agree 100%. What's going to come down to this fight is, to me, is going to be the ref. Is the ref going to allow this fight to be what Isaac Cruz needed to be, which is a rough fight where I'm just on this dude ass, relentlessly on this nigga's ass, and throwing punches at him? If the referee allows it to be that type of rough fight, because Lamont Roach does not know how to clinch. We saw that before when, I think it was that fight. You talking about Orlando Cruz fight. He don't know how to clinch. He don't know how to ring out you. So if the ref allows this to be a rough fight, and the ref is looking at Lamont like, hey, man, you showed us all this confidence you had fight, then yes, it's a dangerous fight for him. But if Lamont learns how to clinch and the ref is immediately there breaking it up and, being more involved in the fight than what he could, he can disrupt the rhythm. Because even with, like you said, Jose Venezuela, Jose Venezuela, who knew how to hold on, because like you said, that pressure will finally get to you, and we all know that Cruz can pop. Lamont Roach is he's over hyping himself from a confidence level that, wait a minute, dog, he did this against a dude that we know sometimes can show he's mentally weak. There's a song Common had called "The Bee in You," and both Lamont Roach and Isaac Cruz brought the bee out of Javante. But here's the difference: one dude really has the ability to bring that out of you in any fight. And that's Isaac Cruz with that pressure, because he really knows, I'm not going out box, so I'm not the quickest dude. The one thing that I think Rayo had over Lamont was Rayo also knew how to use angles. He had better footwork and knew how to use the angles. Lamont Roach don't necessarily know how to do that. This could be a good fight for Lamont from this aspect. If you went into training camp realizing, I cannot think that I can be brave and bravado against this type of dude, because he's not like Tank. He's going to come at me. I have to use counters. I have to use movement. I have to grab. If he went into training camp and they worked on that, then this could be a more winnable fight for Lamont Roach. But if he goes in there thinking, I'm gonna do this dude like I did Tank Davis, I'm with you, man. I'd see a knockout because the difference between because Tank has that game changing power, but Isaac Cruz has that pressure type of power where you just succumb to that power. You just succumb to his knockouts because of the amount of pressure he's gonna put on you. So I actually like this fight because again, if the referee allows it to be a rough fight, I have Isaac Cruz all the way in this fight, and he may even stop Lamont Roach because Lamont Roach has shown me he's mentally weak. People gonna get mad at me and say you can overcome that. No, you can't. You can never overcome mental weakness. Sorry, no, you can't. You can't. You just can't do it. You'll have moments, but you can never overcome that. And this is one of those fights where if he's putting that pressure on him, I can see Lamont Roach relating back to who we thought he was when he fought Orlando Cruz, when he fought, that guy he fought when he was on Pro Box TV. So this is a very interesting fight. I agree. I'm even gonna pick. I'm gonna pick Isaac Cruz, man. I got Isaac Cruz, 8th, 9th round.
You said 8th and 9th round knockout?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The thing with Lamont, man, is if you look at his fights, right? If you go all the way back to Orlando Cruz in 2018, and you look at every single fight that he's had after that, you guys tell me, has Lamont Roach looked like he's added anything to his style?
Nope.
No. He's been matched good. Like I said,
Yes.
he's been matched. When you look at, he's been matched good. That fight, like I said, he had on Pro Box. I can't remember where he wound up getting the Tank fight because he went in against a guy nobody knew, and that's what wound up getting him. He was an undefeated fighter, but that's what wound up getting him that fight. So no, I haven't seen nothing from from Lamont Roach that tells me he's a different fighter from Orlando Cruz, except he's been matched very well.
I agree 1,000,000% with that. What do you think about this fight, Jay?
So when this fight was announced, I was like, this is not a good match at all. Pitbull is not the best boxer ever. Not even close. But the thing that I do like about Cruz is that when he goes in there with literally intense pressure. Like he don't give a fuck. Like he coming in there, he's trying to knock your head off, and he's gonna try to do that for 12 rounds straight. Lamont Roach can't clinch. He don't really use his footwork too much. He don't create angles. He don't try to capitalize off of a jab when he uses it. This this is literally just a horrible matchup for him. I just don't. I don't see what Roach could add in those 8 months for him to actually adjust or even like change exactly the fighter he is to actually win this fight. And I think that Isaac Cruz is just going to go in there, do what he does, you know what I'm saying, and just continue to go to the body, go to the head, and just completely just try to get him on the ropes and pound him until he either knocks him out or until the ref stops the fight. I don't even know if I don't necessarily agree with how the ref calls it because Roach can't clinch. So like if they're in close quarters, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just the leverage that Cruz is going to have on him. He's smaller than Roach, but not by that much. This is just a bad matchup altogether. I think Cruz takes him out in about 9 to 10 rounds, give or take. Maybe even 8, man. Because I just don't see what Roach could add to his arsenal for him. Not unless he it just becomes a completely different fighter and just runs the whole night and jabs and runs. That's the only way I would see him actually pulling this off, and that wouldn't look good for him.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good for his image, right?
Nope.
Right. I mean,
so I got Isaac Cruz by I'm gonna say stoppage around 10th round.
Yeah, I agree with you saying that you don't know what Lamont Roach could incorporate to win this fight. I mean, I know what he can incorporate, but I'm going to piggyback off you and add that it's hard to see him become an outside fighter behind the jab and applying angles and turning the ultra aggressive Isaac Cruz, right? When he's never fought like this. Lamont Roach is 30 years old, right? He's had 28 professional bouts, and he had a pretty extensive amateur career as well. He is who he is at this point of his career, guys. You know what I'm saying? He ain't incorporating no Floyd Mayweather, Shakur Stevenson, Terrence Crawford tactics. You know what I'm saying? He is who he is. Lamont Roach at this point in time reminds me of George Camboody. And what I mean by that is George Camboody had the best night of his life where the moons aligned for this nigga, bro. When he came to Brooklyn and beat Teofimo Lopez, right? And in doing so, Teofimo Lopez has some shit going on outside the ring. I believe he has some shit going on with his baby mom and shit. We all know he had some issues with Top Rank at that time. He had a lot of outer ring issues. Now, I am not using that shit as an excuse. I don't fuck with Teofimo Lopez. So watching Camboody come from Australia and beat him, hey, good job. 100%. I'm just stating the facts, right? Teofimo Lopez was not mentally there for the Camboody fight like he was for the Loma fight previous. See what I'm saying? And all the moons, the stars, all the baddest bitches aligned for Kambosos prior to that fight. And he took full advantage. That's exactly what happened for Lamont Roach against Tank Davis. Because if you recall, Tank Davis too had issues outside the ring prior to the Lamont Roach fight, right? Now, I'm definitely not giving that as an excuse for Tank Davis because I don't think Tank Davis is that great of a fighter, right? But at the end of the day, he too was not mentally 100% there going into the Lamont Roach fight. Hell, besides having, his girl putting cases on him left and right, she puts a fucking new case on this nigga once a month, right? He's also talking about retiring and how boxing don't do it for him no more. He was saying that shit before the Lamont Roach fight. He's saying it afterwards, right? So at the end of the day, Tank Davis also, like Tio for Camboody, was not mentally prepared for Cockroach. And Cockroach took full advantage and won that fight, in my opinion. But just like how Camboody was brought back down to earth from living on Mars for X amount of time when he had all those belts minus the real WBC, not that franchise bullshit that no longer exists, by the way. When he was brought back down to earth with his 3 titles and then had to fight Devin Haney for the real true undisputed 135-pound championship, what happened? Got mollywopped, right? Now, I'm not saying Isaac Cruz is Devin Haney by any stretch of the imagination. Not saying that. What I'm saying, though, is the matchup issue is almost identical in terms of how bad of a matchup it is. The boxer that Devin Haney was a horrible matchup for George Camboody. He had never seen anything like that living in Australia. You know what I'm saying? The pressure fighter that Isaac Cruz is all wrong for Lamont Roach's flat-footed, no power punching, mid-range fighting ass. It's all wrong for him, bro. Lamont Roach is a C-level fighter. Isaac Cruz is also a C-level fighter, but Lamont Roach has been billed as an A level fighter for the last 8 months. You don't believe me? Go look up the Lamont Roach, Shakur Stevenson, Tank Davis post on the Three Kings Boxing Facebook page. It's all there. It's all on fucking X too. Talking about how good Lamont Roach really is. So as a C-level fighter being billed as an A-level fighter, he's now jumping into the fire that I don't think he believes is fire. I think this nigga thinks this is water. You know what I'm saying? This nigga like, that's orange water. Y'all niggas ain't never seen orange water before? That's what he's got to be thinking is Bo and Jay. Because when you get overhyped the way you do, guess what happens? You have like this overinflated sense of self-worth, right? And that's what's happened with Lamont Roach. He had the night of his life, all the moons and stars and the ass, all them bad bitches front row aligned for him. And he had the greatest night of his life. Now Isaac Cruz is probably about to bring him back down to earth, man. Like the fella said, like I said earlier, I don't see where Lamont Roach is able to fend off Isaac Cruz's pressure. The only thing that I think helps Lamont Roach here is that Isaac Cruz is a small ass dude, bro. He's 5'4". Yeah, he's a small ass dude, 5'4". He's only got a 64-inch reach. So Lamont Roach has a massive height and reach advantage. It's like 3 inches for both or 4 inches for both, right? A massive height and reach advantage. I can see him controlling the fight at mid-range distance only, guys, only if his volume is extremely high.
Very good point. That's a very good point.
He's got to have extremely high volume. I'm talking 120 fucking punches a round, all leading behind the jab. All of them led behind the jab, bro.
Yep, against a pressure fighter, that's exactly what you need. You need volume against a pressure fighter.
Exactly. He's got to continue punching and don't fucking stop. But guys, you guys tell me. I'm just 2K. I don't know shit about boxing. Does Lamont Roach does he have high volume, guys?
Hey, all I know is when Orlando Cruz hit him one time with a punch, he was on his bicycle. That's all I know. That's all I got in my mind right now. That's all I can remember.
Yep. Even against Tank, he's posturing, right? He's posturing. He's actually trying to outbox Tank from mid-range, right? And he did a good job. But my point is, the way he fought Tank, right, guys? The way he fought Tank, he fought Jamel Herring that way. He fought Jamel Herring that way. He fought Orlando Cruz that way, right? He fought Hector Luis Garcia that way, right? All those guys that you don't know in between, he fought those guys that way. He fought Rene Alvarado that way. He fought all those guys the same way. And that's what makes Tank such a bad fighter, because he still was victim to a fighter who has a goddamn playbook out on him. The playbook is available, bruh. It's not in a vault locked away. It's not in a coach's desk where you can't get access to it. The fucking playbook is all over the internet. How do I beat Lamont Roach? A fight should pop up off of that Google search. Shit, nigga, Chat GPT might fucking tell you. They might say what I'm saying. and Tank still fell victim to that. Yeah, I don't see, like I said, I don't see where Lamont Roach stays at mid-range distance and has 120 and throws 120 punches around. He would need to do that if he doesn't want to become an outside fighter. There's 2 ways he can win this fight, and I'll reiterate. Stays at mid-range distance, keeps the jab in Pitbull's face, and throws 120 punches around, right? Or at least has a high octane volume, Put it that way, right? He also would need to apply angles. He can't stay on the center line with his head movement. He also can't stay on the center line with his footwork. He's got to stay off the center line. He's got to provide angles, right? Or he stays on the outside, doesn't have a high volume, but plays Matador to the bull, right? Behind the jab. Sets him up as he's rushing in, because Pitbull's going to have to do that. That's how he fights.
Mm-hmm.
He fights no other way, right? Sets him up as he's coming in, counters him, steps away or steps back, or provides angles. Turns him. Maybe gets off a couple more punches, steps back again. Rinse and repeat. Lamont Roach doesn't fight like that either, though. Those are the two things he has to do to win, in my opinion. But I don't think he incorporates them. I do think there will be moments that Lamont Roach wins rounds. I'm not going to say Pitbull knocks him out. I won't say that. Lamont Roach can take a punch. Lamont Roach has actually never even been knocked out, right? So I don't think Pitbull knocks him out. I will give Lamont Roach's chin some credit. But I do believe Pitbull wins more rounds than Lamont Roach, because Lamont Roach is going to be on his back foot for a lot of these rounds. He's going to be clamming up in a shell, because he does that a lot, guys, right? He's going to clam up in a shell. When he's at mid-range distance, he'll clam up in a shell to let Pitbull get off and then look for an opening and then mount an offensive attack. That's exactly how he's been fighting his entire career. He's going to fight like that in this fight. But the problem in this fight, Pitbull's volume is going to be too much, and his pressure is going to be evident that the judges are going to give him rounds. They're essentially going to give Pitbull rounds because of his volume and his pressure, and they're not going to give Roach rounds because he doesn't have enough volume, and he's not dictating the pace of the fight. So I got Pitbull winning this fight, 116, 112, 8 rounds to 4. I got to applaud Lamont Roach for taking this fight. It is very, very dangerous for him, right? Pitbull is going to fight anybody. Any fight he's in with a fighter with half a skill is going to be dangerous to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Lamont Roach has much more to lose here than Pitbull. Lamont Roach is much more popular at this point in his career than Pitbull is, guys, because of what transpired in March, right? So he's got a lot more to lose. So I got to commend him for taking such a dangerous fight. But I think he's riding the wave of what Tank Davis allowed him to do in their fight, and now he's bit off more than he could chew. So I got Pitbull winning this fight by unanimous decision. Y'all got anything else y'all want to add, man, to this shit before we close out?
I want to add one thing that could be the difference for Cruz in this fight, and I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, after the Jose Venezuela fight, I believe that Cruz went out and brought in Robert Garcia as his coach.
Mm-hmm.
And Robert Garcia can be a difference maker, because remember what he did for Marcos Maidana, who also had a similar style to Isaac Cruz as just being a brawler. He added he tweaked a little bit here and there. Yeah, exactly. So if he can tweak something about Isaac Cruz, you know, I think he does have him, but if he can tweak something about Isaac Cruz, then that can be another caveat that Lamont would have to deal with, because now you're not dealing with a guy that's just a pressure fighter coming in like a bull. You're dealing with a guy that can also, you know, have some tweak to him. So you're dealing with a more trained bull, but still a bull.
Yeah. I think you make a good point about incorporating Robert Garcia, because that jab that Marcos Maidana learned from adding him to his team, that shit bothered Floyd Mayweather, guys. That's how good of a coach Robert Garcia is when it comes to teaching his fighters how to properly jab and how to properly utilize the jab to get where you want to be in position to get off or to mount a more devastating offensive attack, right? That jab was bothering Floyd Mayweather. So if he's able to give somebody like Marcos Maidana, who's never jabbed a day of his fucking life, right, a jab right before the Mayweather fight where he learns it and actually gives one of the greatest of all time a little bit of trouble, I'm fully confident that he could give that same skill set to someone like Isaac Cruz to trouble somebody of the limited skill set of Lamont Cockroach. Just saying. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's a very good point, Bo. Very good point. And also, if he, you know, in using that jab, he's already going to get in position of Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach's footwork is not going to prevent Isaac Cruz from getting anywhere near him, right? He's already going to be in position. But what that does now is it changes his level of attack, right? So now you're looking at a jab. You're worried about that. Now Cruz got several different ways, several points of attack that he could take because you're worried about the jab. Yo, yeah, very good point, Bo. Very good point. Y'all got anything else? Jay, you want to add something, man?
Nah, I mean, the only thing I can think of in terms of Roach is he's coming in with confidence, and that's we've seen that either fail or it made that fighter better. So we're gonna definitely see which way it goes tonight. We'll see if he becomes a better fighter after fighting Tank.
He gonna need it. He gonna need it. We'll see. Hopefully we're wrong. Hopefully he comes out there, shows us a different wrinkle to his game. Because if he does, right? If he goes out there and becomes this excellent boxer that he's never ever been able to show a day of his fucking life, becomes this excellent boxer and this high IQ fighter from mid-range or from the outside, then we got another player, a true player at 140 pounds, right? So yeah, man. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you just went way left with the that. You ain't gotta be that skilled to fucking, you know what I'm saying, outpoint Pitbull. But I'm just, you know,
he does. He does. from how he fights, he does absolutely. So yeah, if he's out here, like I said, he's fighting like a Devin Haney or he's fighting like a Shakur Stevenson. We got a major player at 140. If he goes out there and looks like that, I wouldn't mind him getting in the ring with Devin Haney. I don't think he wins, but if he did that, I'll be like, hey, did y'all see what he did against Isaac Cruz? He showed he can box. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Book it. Make that fight.
Yeah, for sure. So right now, as it pertains to today, Devin Haney will watch the shit out of this nigga, bro.
Yeah.
Way too easy. So, all right, man, we're going to go ahead and cut it right here. Y'all know what to do, man. Go in the comment section, do what you do. We'll be back soon with another one. Appreciate everybody that joined.